The book of Romans explains the death and resurrection of Christ thoroughly, and the book of 1 Corinthians talks about the death and resurrection of Christ and how they relate to Christians in the church. 2 Corinthians is Paul's personal statement, "The Lord dies before I live, I die and others live." 2 Corinthians is almost half of Paul's autobiography, and it is the book in which Paul talks about himself the most. The sweetness and bitterness of serving the Lord are vivid. The book of Galatians is an absolute book. There is no sand in the eye of the truth, no compromise and adulteration in the truth. Christians can only be justified by faith, and the only way to have eternal life is to believe in Jesus. I have been crucified with Christ, it is no longer I, but Christ, from Galatians. I don't know anything else, but I only know Jesus Christ and Him crucified, which comes from 1 Corinthians. These two verses can be ranked among the top 5 golden verses in the New Testament. I once taught the book of Galatians in a rural seminary in Shandong. When I discussed eating blood in the last class, I found that half of the students had learned Galatians for nothing. The religious ghost of legalism still haunts Christians after 2,000 years. 1 Corinthians is another handbook of church truth. What should the church do if it encounters factional disputes? What should I do if fornication occurs? How do believers deal with suing each other? What should a believer's marriage be like? How to take communion? What are the spiritual gifts? What is the relationship between the church body and believers? Why is love the greatest among faith, hope and love? How to look at speaking in tongues in a comprehensive and balanced way. The teaching of the church in 1 Corinthians is really comprehensive and can be inferred from one instance. Like 1 Corinthians, Ephesians is a guide to truth for the church, but more abstract and higher than 1 Corinthians. Watchman Nee and Spark once discussed Ephesians chapter 4 verse 5, which they considered to be the two most difficult chapters in the Bible. For the union of Christ and the church is as great a mystery as the union of husband and wife. It is a great mystery, but it is also a great blessing. Because there is no word from God that is without power. The truth of the church is placed in the book of Ephesians, not to test which of us is smarter, but to wait for us to see who has the greater blessing.